All right, guys, Michael Cohen here with you, Sports Talk Nation. We are back talking baseball here as the New York Mets are clinging to the wild card and trying to hold off the Cincinnati Reds for the last wild card spot in the National League. And look, it has been tough times for the New York Mets. It's been tough times in New York for both teams. At least the Yankees, from this standpoint, if you want to go on recency bias, have played a little bit better, winning 7 of the last 10 and sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals over the weekend, and they are back in control of the top wild card. The Mets, it hasn't been as pleasant, and it hasn't been as easy, and that's even after they took out the Seattle Mariners this past weekend, winning 2 out of 3, which was nice to see the Mets win a series for the first time in a long time. But the big problem is this. If you are a fan of the New York Mets, it's pitching. It's pitching, and pitching. Because every single day it seems like we watch this team go out there. We're seeing starting pitchers get shelled by the 3rd, 4th, and 5th inning. Very few guys are now going into the 6th inning now for this New York Mets team, except for Nolan McLean, the rookie, who made his Major League debut just the other day on Saturday against the Seattle Mariners, and he was fantastic, where he held the Mariners to nothing. He blanked them over 5 1/3 innings, gave up only 2 hits, walked 4, struck out 8, had Seattle guessing all afternoon as the Mets won that game 3-1. And probably the best game the Mets have had in a very, very long time. And I'll play for you a clip right here from Carlos Mendoza. This was on the a show called Foul Territory. So obviously we take no credit for this. I'm just showing you what was on X here. And Mendoza adamantly admits that it's been hard for him. It's been hard for him to manage a team where he doesn't have a starter going past the 4th inning anymore because everyone's throwing over 90 pitches. Take a listen.
I feel like the past 10 days, I get somebody hot in the 4th inning, like it's just hard to continue to get 15 outs every night from your bullpen.
And that's a little bit of a shot, if you will, over at David Stearns. Because first, just step back here for a second. Before the Mets won the last 2 games against Seattle, Let's just take it back to Friday when the Mets imploded and lost 11-9 to Seattle. Up at that point, the Mets were 2-14 in a 16-game stretch. 2-14. They had one of the worst records in baseball, joining Washington and Chicago, and even the Yankees have been bad as well. Okay, they're not off the hook either. At 19-34 since the middle of June. So this isn't just some recent stretch. This isn't just some bump in the road. This has been coming on here for quite some time, and it's this simple. This is a flawed baseball team, built by David Stearns, built by Steve Cohen. They have to take some responsibility here. I know we live in a world where we like to blame the manager and blame the coaching staff, but you have to look at the way this team was constructed in the offseason and throughout the year and through the trade deadline. Mets didn't add any starting pitchers at all at the deadline. They beef up the bullpen, but what good does that do when you have starters who can't get through the 5th and into the 6th inning? So you have guys like Rand Helsley, who's gotten shelled. He has a 7.11 ERA in his last 8 games here with the Mets. Okay, Reed Garrett has been tired. Tyler Rogers has pitched well. He has an ERA of 1.93. Gregory Soto's pitched okay. He's pitched very well. He has his ERA of 0 up to this point. But Helsley has been absolutely shelled since coming over to the Mets. Brooks Raley has hit a wall a bit as well with New York. He has an ERA of about 5. In fact, the Mets team ERA in August is at 5.24. And you go through all the starting pitchers. Outside of Nolan McLean, only one guy that I could see has gone into the 6th inning, and that's David Peterson on a consistent basis. And in his last start, only went into the 3rd inning. So everybody is struggling. Everybody is struggling out of this rotation. Kodai Senga has hit a wall. Before his injury this season, Senga was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Okay, just take a look at the game log. Take a look. ERA of 1.26 in April, 1.89 in May. ERA of 0.77 in his first 2 starts in June, then got hurt, and since coming back in July, hasn't been the same pitcher. ERA of over 5 in the end of July, and so far in August, 3 starts, an ERA of 4.50. Now, he did pitch a little bit better his last time out against Atlanta, but still a guy who has consistently struggled for the New York Mets out of this rotation lately. Clay Holmes, I think he's hit a bit of a wall too. Here's a guy who was a reliever most of his career, especially with the Yankees, and getting a chance to be a starter again here with the Mets, and he too has hit a wall. When was the last time he went into the 6th inning? You have to go back to July 19th against Cincinnati, a game that he gave up 5 runs. Since then, it's been a struggle for him to get through even to the 5th inning. And yes, he did give the Mets 5 innings the other day against Seattle on Sunday night. Gave up only one run, came out of the game, but at 88 pitches. So the pitching hasn't been economical. Guys aren't going deep into games, and the bullpen's getting stretched out, and the guys are getting tired. And if this continues, look, I know the Mets won a series against Seattle. I know we want to get excited about Nolan McLean and about what he could possibly bring to the table. If the pitching overall continues to struggle to get through the 5th inning, this team's not going to go far in the playoffs, if they even make the playoffs, because you got Cincinnati right there. A full game back. The Cincinnati Reds are a full game back of the Mets in the wild card as they get ready for this week. Now, the question is going to be this, and there's actually 2 questions. One, does Nolan McLean, does he become the answer to this Mets rotation? And 2, will there be help on the way? Because the Mets do have a young prospect, number 2 in their farm system, in Jonah Tong, who is very quickly making his way up. He was brilliant with AA Binghamton this year, and in his start with AAA just this past week, just a couple of days ago, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts, 90 pitches. 18 swing and misses, fastball hitting at 98 miles an hour. Jonah Tong is a guy that is the guy to watch now. Are the Mets going to rush him? I think he's still probably a year away. I think he's probably not. We're not going to really see him until 2026. But if push comes to shove, and you have a team as talented as the Mets have right here in 2025 with guys like Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, all these guys in their prime. And Pete Alonso, of course, the question whether he's going to be here with the Mets beyond this year or not. Do you bring up a Jonah Tong this year? That's a question the Mets have to answer come September when they expand the roster. And what does McLean become? Now, I'm not going to jump off a bridge here and start going crazy, as a lot of Met fans are going crazy, saying that, oh my God, Nolan McLean's the next Jacob deGrom, this guy's the next Matt Harvey, this guy's going to... Let's not go there. Okay, I know there's some Met fans that are doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going there. But what I will say is that at the very least, you got a good, solid performance from a young pitcher who has shown some promise. Now, who knows? Maybe his next start this week when he goes up against Atlanta, maybe he gets hit hard. I don't know. We'll find out. But the fact is, this is a young pitcher, 24 years old. The Mets need pitching in the worst way at the starting rotation. Maybe he is an answer at some point down the road. But if I'm the Mets, I leave him in the rotation, and I get someone like Frankie Montas out of that rotation as far as the Mets are concerned. Now, they have pitched better as a starting rotation this weekend against the Seattle Mariners as a group. Minaya, McLean, Peterson combined, 5 earned runs over 15 1/3 innings, 19 strikeouts, a 2.98 ERA by the starting pitchers. It's a step in the right direction, but this leads to my next question. Is this team, do I trust this team to get to the postseason? Do I trust this team when and if they get there? Because like I just said, they're trying to hold off the Reds, who are just a game back of them. They're 2 back in the loss column. They're tied in the win column. Both teams with 66 wins. Reds right now with a 17% chance to make the playoffs. Mets at 84% chance. And these two teams will see each other first week in September. Reds already won 2 out of 3 against the Mets already at Citi Field. They'll meet again in Cincinnati. I don't know if I trust this Mets team right now because there are days, and we've seen it all year, there's days and there's series and there are weeks where The offense doesn't click at all, and the pitching's great. And like we saw early in the year, then there's times where certain hitters are hitting well and certain hitters are not. And then there's times where we are in, like right now, where the pitching has failed the Mets and the hitting has been pretty good. Because look, the Mets have been hitting the baseball. I mean, there's no question about it. Just take a look at the numbers. Here in the month of August. Just take, in fact, even just last 7 days. Last 7 days, Mets are hitting .330 as a team in the last 7 days. Okay, they just aren't winning enough games because their pitching's been so bad. And the guys that have been hitting, have been Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Francisco Alvarez. All three of those guys have been red hot. Alvarez is hitting .450 the last 7 games. He has 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. But who knows? By the end of this week, those guys could be hitting .210. And as I say that about Francisco Alvarez, who has been hitting the cover off the ball lately, guess what happens? This happens. All right. He is now out. He is now out for 10 days with a right thumb injury. So here we go again, folks. This, again, is what I've been saying. This team, nothing ever seems to go right for this team right now. They need consistency. Now you have this setback with Francisco Alvarez going down with a thumb injury, and now he's down for 10 days. So here we go again. I just don't know what to expect from this Mets team because they've been so Jekyll and Hyde all year. And now here we are, this stretch of games, this week of games for the New York Mets is going to really determine what this is all going to be about with this season. They get Washington and Atlanta this week, both on the road. Then they come home next week. Next Monday, they get Philadelphia for 3, and they get Miami for 4. So for the next 2 weeks, it's all NL East for the New York Mets. And if this team, forget the division right now, Mets are 5 back in the Phillies right now. If this team is going to make a push for the postseason and are going to be a serious postseason player, these next 13 games on the NL East, the Mets have to win. I'm going to say the Mets have to, at the very least, come out of it 9-4 or 10-3. They do that, there's no question that this will be a playoff team this year. Whether they advance deep in the playoffs, that's going to be another question. But these next 13 games are going to play a big role in whether the Mets are a serious postseason contender. Because after those 13 games, as we get into September, right there, Labor Day, Mets are in Detroit to face a very good Tigers team. And then after that, they go to Cincinnati to face the Reds in what's going to be a critical series, as we all know. And then they get Philadelphia for 4. That road trip, 10-game road trip, coupled with these 13 games coming up right now, is your season. And yes, I know they got Texas and San Diego after that. Those certainly San Diego's owned the Mets over the years recently. But that's your season, folks. This is your season if you're the New York Mets. From today, as I record this now, Tuesday, August 19th, all the way until September 11th, that's your season. Will the Mets be a playoff team or will they be out? And it will be determined by the pitching. They need to not only pitch well, they need to start hitting and hit consistently at the same time. They need everything to start to click. And this is a team that all year, where it hasn't always clicked all the time. And we're going to find out. We're going to start getting answers to that this week. Last thing is this. Pete Alonso, of course, breaking Darryl Strawberry's franchise record for home runs. He now is at 253, now 254 home runs in his career. And it's going to be there's this interesting thing that Alonso said here about his future with the New York Mets.
Love the city of New York. I love this fan base. It's been great. But again, like the business is the business side. Like if they choose to go in another direction. But for me, like it's been an absolute treat and pleasure here. I mean, this group is really special, and I mean, this group was one of the biggest reasons why I came back. And not only was the talent, but the people here, not just on the team, the coaching staff, all all the people here that work in the clubhouse, the front office, and obviously the training room. I mean, we just got an incredible group here that has a great purpose, and it's been great playing here. But yeah, I hope it doesn't end.
I'll say this: it's going to be the story of the offseason once again. Again, I don't know what the Mets' priority is going to be come the offseason. I would imagine starting pitching is going to be certainly a big key for them come the offseason, no matter how the season ends, one way or the other, whether it's in the postseason or not. What is going to be the place for Alonso, who's had a tremendous year? 100 RBIs this year, 268. He's on pace to hit about 35 home runs, drive in about 120 runs this year. If I'm the Mets, I tear up that contract, I give him a new deal. But remember, they gave him and offered him a 7-year contract last year that he balked on with the hope that he would get cash in big this just last offseason. Didn't happen. So we'll see what happens when we get to that point. I'm really curious to see what the Mets prioritize with Pete Alonso. But if it's me, I do what I can to keep him because the first base market is not that great. You look around at the other guys available in free agency coming up this offseason, it's not great. And if you're the Mets and you're going to try to sell people on, we're going to move Brett Baty to first base and have Mark Vientos at third in 2026, that's a hard sell. It really is. So that's a story that we're going to follow, of course, as we move forward with the Mets beyond this season. But I'm very happy for him because, you know what, he's one of the top players in Mets history. He is certainly cemented his legacy as far as a great player in franchise history, and for him to now have the franchise record pretty much cements his place in Mets Hall of Fame, maybe even retired number. We'll see when that time comes. Folks, like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.